Welcome back, bitches. I'm Lindsey,
And I'm Skyler.
and this is the No Literally podcast.
If you missed our episode last week, make sure you go and give it a listen.
This week, we are answering some questions that were sent in on our Instagram question box. We received some really good questions, so we picked out a handful just to answer in this episode. So without further ado, Skyler,
All right,
question.
we're going to start with question number 1. And it is, what are your thoughts on the TikTok ban? I was pissed.
Literally, I was scrolling freaking TikTok, just living my best life, and then had to put my phone down to, be a grown up. 10 fucking minutes later, gone. Done. And then get the little message, whatever it said.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
So this is what we're doing. No, I was really sad because the algorithm on Instagram shit, right? I get a majority of recognition and clients from TikTok.
Yeah.
So that one was like a hard hit, but we're back. So,
But what really got me though was the CapCut.
oh yeah, I was pissed about CapCut.
I didn't start using CapCut like religiously until recently. And so the fact that CapCut was donezo right alongside TikTok, I was like,
Yeah, because no one like talked about CapCut leaving. Like we didn't know.
I feel like I heard maybe like one person say like, oh, CapCut might go too because it's related.
Yeah.
But no one was like, yes, it's definitely going down with TikTok. And then same thing with Lemonade. Everybody started going over to Lemonade.
That's what I did, and I didn't know that got shut down too.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay, well, now what? So everybody was talking about that red door. Did you even go on there to like see?
No, because I saw this TikTok that was like, when you agreed to the terms and conditions of, what was it called? Red Door?
Yeah.
And now you're signing, like now you got something in the mail saying that you're part of the military or something.
Oh my gosh. Imagine though. I'm like, okay, where's the waiver saying I agree to
Because it's in
whoever
a different language.
Oh,
A lot of the stuff on there wasn't even like in the English language. I forget which language it was.
and I'm sure Google Translate is not
No.
reliable.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I cannot with any more social media platforms. Like I do not have the capacity
Me either.
for any more. So I'm like, TikTok's going down. I guess it's just Facebook and Instagram.
Because they connect.
Because they connect. Yeah.
And you could double post.
Yeah. But happy to have CapCut and TikTok back, even if it's temporary. I did though see, because I was like, well, and now I need to do some research on video editing software. Adobe has one. I downloaded it, but I haven't gotten to play around with it. So I'm just going to play with it so that way if it does go down, we've got some options.
And Templify too. Templify is like a knockoff version of CapCut. I don't know if it's a knockoff version, but it's like identical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you used it?
Well, I downloaded it when CapCut was gone and I took a look at it, but I never edited anything.
I literally went straight to Google and I was like, video editing software similar to CapCut.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where can I find the most similar? So we're kosher for the time being. Question number 2. This was a good one. How do you deal with a misogynistic boss? How would you deal with that?
It's so hard to answer because I haven't had a boss in like since I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like if it was bad enough to the point, like I would just quit my job.
Yeah. I guess it's difficult. It depends on the situation, right? If you're in a position to quit your job, obviously that's like number 1.
I don't think anyone's like really ever in a position to quit their job, but
like if you can be okay for the time being while you look for something else, then obviously that's going to be like number 1. Now, obviously you wouldn't ask that question if that was an option for you. So I can't say that I've ever had a misogynistic boss because working in healthcare, most of my superiors were women. And so that wasn't really something that like the one male boss.
I had a boss like that when I was younger. I was like 17, 18 years old, and I worked at Cracker Barrel. And my manager there, the GM, he was kind of that way. Like, I would ask him questions and he would be like, why are you asking me this? And it's like, well, because you're the boss. And like, that's your job to answer the
You're like,
question.
oh, manager? That's weird.
Yeah.
Let me pull up the job description real quick.
Aside from like, if you're not in the position to quit your job, I would think my biggest piece of advice for you would just like keep advocating for yourself. Like,
Yeah.
100%, just because it's a man, don't let them intimidate you. Like, you are still powerful yourself, and it's unfair. Like, if you can report them to HR, maybe report them to HR, but that might make the work environment a little awkward.
Yeah. I mean, if they're like the owner of the company, obviously
Yeah.
it's going to be a little difficult. I think definitely finding another opportunity ASAP would be number one, depending on
For sure.
circumstances. But
Yeah.
like I haven't dealt with like specifically a misogynistic boss, but I did have a boss who literally made it her life mission to find every reason to like have something to say about me. And it quite literally ruined my mental health. Like I was not in a good place. And it got to a point because like I was trying to advocate for myself, but because she was in a position of such high power in the company, there really wasn't anything that I could say or do that was going to make it better. I did reach out to HR, and naturally, you know, like depending on the severity of the situation, if you go to HR, like in my situation, they went to her and talked to her, and that made it worse.
Yeah.
Like, so then all of a sudden, every move I made was wrong. And really what it boiled down to was like, she hired me as a manager to oversee a team. But she had a hard time letting go because they had a hard time filling that position like permanently. It was during COVID. So when I came on, it was like right after. And she had to fill that role for a period of time. And because I'm very much a person, like I'm going to look for the answer myself before I come and ask you because I'm capable. And if the answer is findable, I'm going to find it.
Right.
I come and bother you. And so she, like, it was such a shock for her that it just it was not doing it for her. Like, she wasn't ready to have like an independent person. So, I quit that job. I found another job elsewhere that was significantly less in pay, but it was at least something until I figured out something else. Because I'm like, okay, well, this money is better than no money. So I definitely did quit that job, and I was not trying to be super picky about what I could find. But yeah, so
Question number 3.
what you got?
How do you keep your marriage strong even when you're changing and evolving?
That's a good one. So I would say, like being with Ian for 12 years, we just celebrated our 6th wedding anniversary. We have been through it, bitch. We have been through it. But I think really the biggest thing is you both have to really have the want to evolve with your partner. And it's not going to always be at the same level. I know that we've talked about this before, but like I have changed so much since we got together. I mean, for God's sakes, I was 20 when we got together. Naturally, I'm going to change. But as I approached 30, I really had a lot of struggles just with my mental health and just like trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And then that job really like was the icing on the cake. So, and I'm not even gonna lie, like there was definitely talk of divorce. Like Ian and I definitely at various points were like, is this the end of our marriage? He obviously questions like if I already come with a lot of baggage with another baby daddy, my family issues. Like, this man took out a lot of baggage. And so then to just like add all of this on top of it, he definitely was like, what's even the point? But it took a lot of hard conversation for us to finally kind of get to a point where he sees me changing and he realizes like, okay, how can I be part of this with you? But also you have to let your partner in on what it is that you're doing. Like, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to the gym and working out every day, so you need to come with me. Like, just communicate, what you're doing, and they'll kind of follow suit at some point. Like, Ian doesn't like going to the gym and like lifting heavy and doing all that. That's just, he did that for so long, he's not into it anymore. But he is like, okay, I see her putting in this effort. I'm going to put in effort in different ways that are better suited for him. So it's just open communication, have the hard conversations, and see how you can evolve together and what changes you can make, that can be the same for both of you. So you're not always going to want to do what your partner wants to do and vice versa, but you do need to find things that align with the changes you're making that you can do together.
Beautifully said. I'm not going to speak on this topic just because I am not married, so I feel like I don't have good enough advice for you in that aspect, but Lindsey killed it.
Check back next year. Dalen, you hear that? Okay. Question 4.
Give it to me.
Where did you grow up and how did that affect who you became?
These questions are like hitting home. Yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm like probably gonna have to go to therapy after this.
Like, we said we were gonna stop trauma dumping on this podcast, but here we are.
It keeps things interesting.
You guys want to know? Sorry.
Yeah.
Skyler, go first.
Okay, where did I grow up? So I was born in Indiana, little small town. And then in like the 2nd grade, I moved here. I lived in Surprise.
Remind me what brought you guys out here.
So my dad had gotten a really bad injury. He worked for the railroad, and the cold weather was way too bad on his back. Okay. So after his back surgery, we went ahead and moved out here. And I'm going to say, how did that affect who I became in such a positive way? Because I look back at everyone who's still in my hometown, and no shade to anyone. Everyone can definitely pick how they choose to live their life, right. But it's such a small town. Like, there's nothing to do but drink and party and drugs and all of that. And I just look back at everyone who still lives there, and I'm just like, I tell my mom all the time, I'm like, I'm so thankful that while I hated you for taking me as an adult, I look back and I'm like, if there's one piece of advice I could give somebody, it's get out of your hometown. Yeah. Like, there is so much more to life. Like, if I still lived there, like, I probably wouldn't have been a business owner. I probably wouldn't have accomplished half of what I've been able to accomplish being in Arizona. Yeah. And just too, like, the people I've met out here are incredible. Not to say the people back there aren't.
Indiana, step it up.
But it's just 2 completely different worlds. Yeah. And I think that being taken away from everything you've ever known makes you grow in a way that you wouldn't be able to if you were still there.
Right. Well, I think it kind of opens you up to getting outside your comfort zone and kind of like, you're like, okay, I've done this before, so I know that I can, do hard things and I can be uncomfortable and still come out on top because of it.
Right. And I would say, like, there's just not as many opportunities out there as there is here, to where, like, we have so much stuff going on in Arizona, and like, it might not seem like it if we've lived here forever, like, so many different things to do. Yeah. But when you put yourself into a small town vibe, it's completely different. Yeah. Like, everyone knows everyone in the city. Like, you know what I mean? Right. While I still love that feeling and that vibe, and I, like, kind of miss it and crave it a lot. Yeah. I'm very happy that I got taken out of that growing up.
For sure. Yeah.
Let's hear about you. Where did you grow up?
Oh, the old 520, Tucson, Arizona, Two Stoned. Yes, so I grew up in Tucson, Arizona. Both my husband and I are from there. And I grew up like Tucson is like such a weird place because it's such a big place, but it's very like kind of small town.
Right.
Everyone, like there's so many mutual friends or like mutual connections that someone always knows someone else that you know. And so it's kind of just like it's everybody always says it's like a small big city. But where I grew up specifically, when I lived there, I did not realize like how much of a questionable area it was. And literally, I was an adult before I actually realized that because I mean that's like where you grew up. That's all you know.
Yeah.
And it was not until I was a grown up and had a job and socialized with people outside my circle that I was like, oh, I grew up in the ghetto.
Yeah, I went down there quite a bit. I like practically lived down there for 2 years.
Yeah.
And every time I went there, I was like, damn, like this place is a shithole.
Okay, but like, you know where the Tucson Mall is?
Mhm.
Okay, I grew up like, I could walk to the Tucson Mall. Yeah. And it was like a mile away. And I go back now, like to go work with my dad a lot. And I drive through and I'm just like, I could never.
Like, imagine your kids growing up in that.
It's just so different than what like we moved up here and now we live in the suburbs. I'm like, what? I didn't even realize it. But I will say, and we had this little tiny house. It was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house with 4 girls. And like my mom was so proud of the fact that she had that house. And like I will say in hindsight, I would have been too. But she always was like, we don't live in a trailer. We live in a house. We live in a brick fucking structure, bitch. This is not a trailer. But I mean, it might as well have been. You know what I mean? Like it was run down. It had been.
But it was justifiable enough for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she was like, we are not trailer trash because we do not live in a trailer.
Right.
And I'm like, hate to break it.
Yeah, like actually.
So yeah, and I had family that lived out like in the freaking boonies, like 3 Points, Arizona, which like if you're from the area and you've been there, it's rough. It's very redneck, very rough. And it's so now that I've been away from it and I'm a suburban little girl now, I will say though, I'm glad that I had that upbringing because it has made me such a humble person. Like I have this conversation with AJ because, you know, she's like, it's never good enough. And I'm like, girl, you don't even freaking know.
Yeah.
Like you don't know struggle. You don't know what it's like. All you've known is this life. And I think that it just really adds to someone's character when they've seen the struggle and they've had to experience that. So I'm glad that I was able to. It's a lot to work through when you grow up because you're just like, damn, I didn't even realize.
Like we thought that was normal.
Yeah. And look, our parents were only doing what they could with the resources they had. And so sorry to my parents for giving them such a hard time.
Love you.
But here we are.
Question number 5. Why are you so passionate about what you do?
Oh, it's funny because Ian always would give me a hard time and say, like, you don't have anything you're passionate about, which was true.
First of all, we want to start off with, if you are new here and this is your first time listening on the podcast, Lindsey is our spray tan artist.
Yes, I own a spray tan business. The only experience I have as a business owner, I had my daughter at the ripe old age of 20 years old. And so my dreams of being a hairdresser were put promptly on the back burner and I got into healthcare. And so my identity was mom for the longest time, and I just didn't have time to do the things that I enjoyed. Like, I got pregnant right in the thick of like my rave girl phase, and I had a hard time kind of letting that go, because at the time that's what I was passionate about, was just having fun with my friends. And then after having AJ and, working in healthcare, like that's what I saw myself doing for the rest of my life. And then I just kind of continued to find myself asking, like, what if I would have done that? What if I would have gone to beauty school? What if I would have made different choices? And so I started spray tanning just really as something to do, and to kind of reignite some level of passion, because I truly didn't have anything that was like so passionate about. I was just kind of like fine with whatever. Whatever Ian wanted to do, I would do it. Whatever, anybody else around me, like, I'm just here for the ride. And so I started spray tanning, and it was just supposed to be something like fun to do, and just interacting with people and like hearing their stories, and, hearing that my very small part in whatever they were doing made such a big difference to them, really just like ignited such a huge, huge fire. And so really that's been my passion. It's not spray tanning. I mean, a tan obviously like makes you feel better, of course, but it's not the spray tanning that I'm passionate about. It's the experience, like delivering that experience to people, and really just being a resource, because not only do people tell me their stories, but they also listen to mine.
Right.
And, I've had people tell me, like, you and your story, whatever it is, has made such a big difference in my life. And, that has been just so incredible. And I'm like, I can't never not do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and so it's less the passion of the act of spray tanning, but it's the act of being there for people in ways that, like, prior to this, never had anybody be there for me.
Right.
And then, just playing such a small part, but a part nonetheless in people's lives. So
I love that.
Yeah. What about you?
Why am I so passionate about what I do? Well, because there's no better feeling than seeing women fall back in love with themselves. I think I feel so passionately about this because there was a long point of my life where I was them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I did not love myself. I was self-conscious. I felt unworthy. Like, I felt like I woke up every day and I was just a stranger in my own skin.
Yeah.
And then, like, you throw in toxic relationships and getting cheated on and all of that really shits on you all over again while you're already struggling. And then you turn to the gym, and it's not necessarily the gym that makes you gain all of that confidence and self-love and worthiness back, but it's just the trials and tribulations you go through during that time, the character that's built, like the mental stamina you have to build in order to keep pushing when you want to give up. So I think that's why I'm so passionate about it. Like, I have a client I train, and I've been training her for about 3 months now, and she came to me and she's like, this is the first period I've had in 3 years.
Wow.
And it's just like shit like that,
Right.
That is incredible. Like,
Yeah.
No, she's not on weight loss shot. She's not on any medications. Like, naturally, like, she's taking care of her body, fueling it correctly with food, and workouts, and like now she has her menstrual cycle.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, so it's like stuff like that like makes me so passionate.
Yeah.
And just believing in people when they feel like they can't believe in themselves.
Right.
And that, like, the same thing you did, like being able to be a part of the journey and like listen to them when they need someone to talk to or vent to, or they're having a shitty day, but then they come into the gym to see me and they're just so excited. Like, it's the best part of their day.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say necessarily like the act of working out is what I'm passionate about, but same with you. It's just like the lives it changes, the hearts I touch, like, you know, like, and vice versa.
Community, you know, I think is like a big thing. And like being in this profession has put me in front of people that I would not have otherwise been in front of ever.
Right.
And I've made connections that I would not have otherwise made. And being raised in an environment where you're really looking out for yourself, like you're not looking out for the people around you. You know, you're very much in survival mode, and kind of being part of a community where that's not the case is like so rewarding, I feel like.
100%. And just like, you know, even I hear so many people say like, oh, growing up, like, I'm not a girl's girl, like girls fucking suck. And it's like, no, the girls you surround yourself with suck. Like, my group of girls does not suck. Like, the community that we've all built together. And like, two, it's so funny because, not funny, but like, it's nice because like we share clientele. Like, I send my clients to Lindsey to get spray tan. She refers people over to me for the gym. So it's just like being able to build a community of like strong women who support each other and lift each other up is unmatched. Like I can't even explain it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I saw something today where it was, you know, talking about like referrals, and, you know, and it said having people who will talk positively about you when you're not in the room and send people to you is like, what did I ever do to deserve that? And it's and it's nice to be around like-minded people also. And even if like we don't realize it, because not everybody's going to come out and say, here is how exactly you changed my life. But to know, like, I know for a fact that at least one person that I've interacted with in my business made different choices as a result of my influence. And if that means that they maybe went for that business that they didn't think that they could because, you know, they're a mom, but to see someone like me, it's like, well, if she can do it, I can too. And maybe not that specifically, but anything. Like if even one person has done something for themselves just as a result of witnessing what I've done for myself, like my job here is done.
Right.
Like that's...
And I always say too, like the monetary wins are shit. Like I don't care about like the monetary value of anything.
Right.
But like if I change someone's heart, if I change someone's relationship, if I change someone's perspective, like that's a win.
Yeah.
I made you feel more confident about yourself. Like that is the biggest, like you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah.
Like at all. That is just like the icing on the cake, right? Like,
and when you have 3 people in 7 days tell you how nice your butt looks because of all the hard work you've been doing in the gym, worth it.
Worth it.
So those are the questions that we are answering for today. We will be doing some more Q&A sessions because this was fun.
It was. These questions like made my brain work super hard. Why you guys always want to be so deep?
I try not to do that too often. But anyways,
thank you so much for listening and spending your Wednesday morning with us. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We have a new episode that drops every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Arizona time.
Next week, we are going to be talking about how we got into entrepreneurship, doing a little deeper dive, and all of the things that come with it, tips and tricks, maybe some things we would do differently if we had to do it again. So definitely mark your calendars for that one if that is something that interests you. So be sure to follow us on Instagram at noliterally.podcast, No Literally Podcast on TikTok. And you can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and everywhere else that you listen to podcasts. But
we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.